Can you help me understand maybe a pope that was very confusing?
Yeah. I forget his exact number. It's one of the Celestines, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
But he had theories about the private judgment of souls. This is the guy, right around the time of John 22nd.
Okay.
Who basically thought that he basically endorsed Christian mortalism. The idea that basically that the soul does not have conscious experiences until the final judgment.
Okay.
Is one variation of it is known as soul sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But basically the idea was that, and he had also a variation of it for the damned, but basically the idea was you die and you wake up on judgment day.
With your body back.
With your body back, and the particular judgment and the general judgment are the same thing. Well, if that's what happens, why are we praying to saints? Because they're not having conscious experiences right now.
And was this being debated around this time of this pontificate? Was it creating that mass level confusion among theologians?
It was creating confusion and you can see how it undermines the church's historic practice of praying to the saints, which was well established by this point. And so all of a sudden the Pope is saying stuff like, the saints aren't having conscious experiences. Imagine if Francis said that. People would totally freak out.
There would be a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about an immoral pope? What's one of the best examples of a scoundrel pope?
So two spring to mind. The first one I want to say is Alexander VI, Rodrigo Borgia.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever have you ever seen Horrible Histories?
No.
Okay, so Horrible Histories is
I like the title.
Yeah, it's a group of British comedians, and they became famous with a show called Horrible Histories, where they would present historical facts in a kind of comedy format. And they would have like little signs pop up on the screen to tell you this is true, this what they just said, this part is true. So even though it's comedy, it's based on things that really happen.
I see, yeah.
And they also would do songs. And so they have different historical songs. They have one called The Borgia Family. And it starts with a depiction of the Borgia family. You've got Lucretia Borgia. She's sitting in a big wicker back chair. Next to her is her son, Geoffrey Borgia, who's like 12 years old. Her brother, Geoffrey Borgia, who's like 12 years old. Behind him is the older brother, Cesare Borgia. Next to him is Giovanni Borgia, another brother. And to the right is their father, Rodrigo Borgia.
Oh.
And as the song begins, we zoom in on them. They're all sitting here impassively, and they're doing the Addams Family snapping routine, like the theme song for the Addams Family. And in fact, the song they sing is based, it's not identical for copyright reasons, but it's based on the Addams Family. And they're doing this, we're this creepy family vibe.
Yes.
And so they're singing their names, Lucretia, Giovanni, Geoffrey and Cesare, the Borgia family. Our father was Rodrigo. I had a monstrous ego. When he gives trouble, we go, the Borgia family. And so then they start singing about how they came to power. And Rodrigo Borgia, the father of the family, starts singing about problems in Spain, and the bishops were a shower. So I went and splashed my cash to all the papal cardinals in hope that they'd be bought. In short, they were, and I became the Pope. And then they talk about all the skullduggery that the Borgia family got up to before.
Okay. Skullduggery is a new term for me.
Oh, okay. It means mischief and criminal or immoral activity. So the Borgia family were notorious for their immoral and illegal behavior. As long as Rodrigo Borgia was Pope, his family, he engaged in nepotism. So these are his children, okay, by his mistresses.
Yeah.
So he's a cleric, he's not married, but he's got mistresses. These are his children. He uses nepotism to put them into key positions of influence in the empire.
Wow.
And his son Cesare is so ruthless that he becomes the model for Machiavelli's prince.
Okay.
And it's just, they were up to crazy bad stuff. Well, so Rodrigo Borgia was a terrible pope of the immoral kind. He was not the worst.
Okay.
As far as I've been able to determine, the worst was Benedict IX.
Okay.
Benedict IX was pope 3 times. He bought the papacy, sold the papacy, bought the papacy. He was incredibly immoral, and I won't go through all the things he did that were immoral in office, but he was a highly immoral pope. So yeah, there have been both kinds. And even if a pope is immoral, that still sends confusing signals.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the case, oh yeah, he had a mistress in private.
Right.
No. Rodrigo Borgia was public about this. He's putting his kids in office. Okay? This is not he's privately immoral, but he's publicly a great pope that doesn't send confusing signals.
Yeah.
He sent confusing signals. It was publicly known. He had these mistresses, he had these children, and now he's elevating these children into high position. Similarly, Benedict IX gets to be pope 3 times. That's clearly sending confusing signals to the faithful. So it's not the case that there have been privately immoral popes in the past. There have been publicly immoral popes in the past, and that sends confusing signals that dwarf what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's helpful, I think, to talk about that, to kind of give us some context. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.